we're back. And if you're joining us now, we're just getting our second conversation for this morning started. We're continuing our Meet the Mayoral Candidates conversations. And joining us now from Dangriga is the incumbent mayor and the United Democratic Party's candidate for mayoral elections. Again, Francis Humphreys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Francis.
Good morning, good morning.
Yeah.
All right. So how are you doing?
Wait, let me just spin that back a little bit if I might. Buiti Binafe, culture capital. And
right.
Buiti Binafe, Belize.
All right. Buiti Bana.
Good morning. That's how we say it in culture capital.
Yeah.
All right. So before we jump into the politics, as we said earlier, we like to start these conversations off on a little bit of a personal note. Now, of course, a lot of people will already know you, especially in Dangriga. But for some of our viewers across the country, why don't we start talking a little bit just about who Francis Humphreys is?
Okay.
Yeah.
I would really hope so.
Oh, I think there's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah. So what's happening is that there's a time delay.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Howard Francis Humphreys. That's how my parents had registered me. Everybody know me as Mr. Humphreys, and it's something that got kind of implanted in my presence here in Dangriga. And I suppose it's one of those symbols of respect that came out of my long tenure as principal, teacher at Stan Creek Ecumenical College. I spent a total of 39 years of my life in that institution, rising through the ranks, first as classroom teacher and then head of department, vice principal, and finally principal, a post that I held for 10 years until I retired in 2013. Well, I kidded myself when I felt that I had earned that retirement, because not long after that, I was asked to, in a sense, re-enter politics, because back in the period 1994 to 1997, I had been actively engaged in partisan politics. I had been part of the U.D.P. Town Council that was elected to office during that period. And during the last year of our tenure then, the councillors selected me to serve as mayor. In those days, you see, the councillors were tasked with selecting a mayor. And in our case, I happened to be the final choice to end our 3-year term. So when I re-entered partisan politics in 2014 going into 2015, it was precisely because I already had prior experience at the municipal level, and had the good citizens of Culture Capital had seen fit to return us to office in 1997 when we made a bid to be re-elected. I suppose my fortunes would have been different. But they are what they are. When I left politics in 1997, I concentrated on what I had been trained for. You see, I had earned a bachelor's degree in education from the University of North Florida. And so my formal training, inclination, and career bent was education, not really politics. But once education had been served, and I served it well, even if I say so, for the 39 years that I devoted my educational expertise to Ecumenical College, and therefore to several generations of students here in Culture Capital, re-entering politics was, I suppose, kind of preordained. And the rest, as the saying goes, is history. We contested the municipal elections in 2015. The good citizens of Culture Capital saw something of benefit in their mayoral candidate and the rest of my team at that time. And so we were resoundingly elected. We recontested again in 2018, pretty much running on our track record, which had become second to none. And so we were re-elected in 2018. Again, looking back with a measure of hindsight now, it seems that the fortunes were directing our path, because last year, when we entered the depths of the pandemic here in Culture Capital, we were faced with the most severe challenge that our community had ever faced. Added to that were 3 significant weather events that literally destroyed much of what we had built in street infrastructure here in Dangriga. I'm talking about Hurricanes Nana, Iota, Eta, that all came pretty much back to back and gave us no respite to rebuild. We simply had to weather the storm, and when the rains finally and mercifully let up, we turned our attention not just to rehabilitate and to rebuild, but to continue dealing with the pandemic, which is still part and parcel of what we are challenged with in Culture Capital. So, this next task ahead of us has to be not just to continue to rehabilitate and to rebuild, but to use all the experience, all the expertise, all the dedication, all the commitment, all the compassion that we have mustered over these past 2 terms to make Culture Capital truly Culture Capital once more. So, as the anchor to a really splendid team of individuals who are now faced with not just convincing the public that we are worthy of continuing to chart the course that is leading us out of the pandemic and the ravages of Mother Nature, but with the kind of experience, the kind of unbeatable track record that we bring to the table, we are truly worthy of that consideration.
Mayor Humphreys, we are in unprecedented times, and it is definitely a situation where people all over the country are feeling the impact of the pandemic and, of course, the economic fallout that's come. In preparing your manifesto and plan for the people of Dangriga, where are you putting your priorities, and what can you be able to offer them, especially since you have been the mayor for 2 terms?
Yes. People first. People first. In fact, back in April of last year, when we were hit with the worst challenges that came out of the pandemic, we had to sit back and take stock and rechart the way forward for the council. We had to refocus our attention on the people. And so, one of the first things we did was to ensure that all our employees were kept on our payroll. And that was no easy task. Our revenues were severely cut back. Many of the programs that we had hoped to get off and running within the 1-year period of 2020 had to be put on the back burner and use the resources basically to ensure that, first of all, the people we employed and still employ remain employed. And so we terminated nobody. All our employees were kept on the payroll. And not only that, we saw to it that a pledged 3% salary increase across the board for everybody, including even those who earn yearly increments, was finally implemented. And we did so by December, when we made that 3% increase retroactive to April the 1st. and paid all the retroactive monies that our workers so desperately needed. We also gave that 3% increase to those persons who are receiving their little, I call it gratitude payment, their pensions. That too got the 3% increase, unprecedented. And I don't know of any other council that has actually done that, but we did it, again, out of compassion for our people and commitment to ensuring that we not just survive the pandemic, but we continue to grow. So, by the end of December, we had disbursed all those monies and were prepared to implement a few of the programs we had put on the back burner. And so we did just that. We continued to rehabilitate our secondary streets. We partnered with the private sector to get machinery out to regrade the streets and redeposit street material and spread it. One important project that we had pledged, which was to continue to concrete Aranda's Crescent, we have done. And along the way, we saw to it that on 2 different occasions, we spearheaded food distribution packages for the most needy in our community. Yeah. So that all in all, our focus has been to look after our people. And that is the focus that we will bring back to our next term. People first, Dangriga first, to ensure that as much as the council can do so, we alleviate the severe economic crunch that this community has suffered. For the business community, we have given our senior citizens who are small-scale entrepreneurs a complete waiver of their trade license fees. We are looking at other ways to assist our business community to weather the economic crunch. And while we were unable to directly do so through their trade license fees this cycle, we will certainly do so in next year's cycle if we are re-elected. Also, because those businesses also pay property taxes, we have instituted a 25% discount in property taxes, both for the business community and for everybody in Culture Capital. This stemmed out of a practice that had become embedded in what we do for the community. On Dangriga Day in May of each year, we had gotten the go-ahead to offer all of our citizens a 25% discount in their property taxes. And we had been doing that every single year that we had Dangriga Day in May. Last year, we were unable to have Dangriga Day due to the pandemic, but we requested and got the go-ahead to continue to offer that 25% discount since we were unable to have Dangriga Day. And we have extended it all the way into this year. And again, I think it will have a significant impact on the business community because by and large, they pay some of the largest amounts of property taxes as well. So,
of course, yeah.
Let me just get in. Ensure that the economic impact is mitigated.
Yeah, let me just get in here for a second and ask, because while I hear your what you're talking about with helping to alleviate the financial burden of property taxes and offering discounts there, it then leads me to wonder, how do you plan to finance the work of the council? Because if you are, while everyone would love a discount, it is also important that these taxes are paid so that you can pay for the work that needs to be done, whether it's streets, parks, or just basic functioning of the municipality.
It's called prudent management. It's called management that has learned strong lessons in prudency over the years that we have been tasked with managing the very slim resources that the council has at its disposal, even while consistently offering and delivering the services that by law we are mandated to give our community. For instance, when it comes to sanitation, pandemic or no pandemic, we have to pick up the garbage.
Yeah.
And we have done that right through the pandemic without missing a beat. When everybody were in lockdown mode, our workers were out in the streets collecting the waste and getting rid of it properly. For that purpose, the council has acquired 2 compactor trucks, one deployed into the south and one into the northern portion of our town.
Yeah.
And we have insisted to our community, if there is any glitch in the collection system, call us and tell us, call the mayor and tell him he is your friendly garbage collector at all times. And all of that is to ensure that with the little resources we do have, we still deliver the services.
Yeah.
Now, for the next year, going forward, by law, we had to sit down and redraft a new budget, which takes into consideration our losses in revenues. It takes into consideration the fact that going forward, we will continue to have a level of salaries and incomes that include that 3% increase that we implemented last year. And we have to ensure that the streets are maintained, the drains are cleaned, and so on and so forth, without missing a beat. People are not looking for excuses. They are looking for productivity, even when the resources are severely constrained. Now, having said all of that, the key to it again is prudent management. Look at every penny that is earned very carefully, and even more carefully, how those pennies are spent.
So
I am very confident that with that kind of prudent approach, we will pull through.
So I know there's a time delay, so it I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm just trying to ensure, but I want to ask, so since you talk about, being prudent in your financial management, and you talk about ensuring that your staff is taken care of, and also offering residents a discount on property tax, what's the campaign been like? Like, what are you hearing from residents in Dangriga? Not just the validation of the work, because we expect to hear that from you, but what are the issues that they have on the table?
It has been so positive, it is more than heartwarming. Our people are among the most resilient anywhere in this country. And in talking to them in the streets, wherever I meet them, because I'm out there every single day, the resounding message I gather personally, and the message that my colleagues on the team have been receiving is, please keep on doing what you're doing. If my street has not been addressed yet, please, I know you're doing everything you can to reach every single area. Put me on your list and get the grader in there, and we say, sure, don't worry about it, we'll get it done. And that is the tone and tenor of the responses we have been getting. Keep on doing what you're doing. Please, don't let it slip or slide in any way, shape, or form, because you have proven to us over these past 2 terms that your capability and your competence is really second to none. And that is extremely heartwarming and encouraging.
Are you concerned that the tides are changing?
Are those which, in the normal course of doing our jobs, we can assure our citizens will get done.
And, just to piggyback off of what Marlene just raised, are you concerned?
The political tides, I think,
exactly.
is what you're referring to.
Does that concern you in any way?
I have none whatsoever. You see, there is this age-old misconception that you must have a political party in central government allied to your town council. There's a fallacy of argument in there. Town councils are designed to be self-sustaining. They are designed to be autonomous. And when you read the town council's act, you see all the mechanisms in there that by law enable the councils to be exactly that, autonomous and self-sustaining. How you manage your resources has nothing to do with central government. It has everything to do with the people you put to manage those resources. So the old fallacy of argument that you must have somebody allied to you in Belmopan to get the job done in your municipality doesn't hold any water. If your allies in Belmopan are as incompetent as you are in the local community, that's a recipe for disaster. And so my standard response is, again, check the track record. This Dangriga Town Council, throughout its tenure, has been as autonomous, has been as self-sustaining, has been as independent as any council can be expected to be, given the mandate that we receive directly through the Town Councils Act and through the people who put us to look after their affairs in confidence that regardless of what happens in Belmopan, the affairs of the town are going to be managed not just in a satisfactory manner, but in a manner that is second to none. And so my pledge to our people, and they know me well, nothing in the politics, in the national politics, can derail or distract us from our mission to continue to move culture capital forward. In fact, it's actually an impetus to do even more, to prove what I have consistently argued, that the councils have the wherewithal to be self-sustaining, independent of central government, and in the end, legally anyway. The central portion of support that comes through central government, the subventions, are protected by law and have to be delivered to the councils at the end of each month. So having said that, we keep pressing forward. So our people are with us, we are with them, and regardless of the scope of national events and what those are shaping up to be, the Dangriga Town Council, under the stewardship that my team has demonstrated over the past 2 terms, will continue to make this community truly the culture capital of Belize.
Well, Mayor Humphreys, the time just zipped by in this interview, and we are down to our final minutes. It's the opportunity. It's a time that we give candidates the opportunity to talk directly to your voters and the residents in your municipality. Tell them why you feel that a 3rd term under Francis Humphreys is the best option for them, for you and your team.
Okay, I'm going to gamble and take something that I wrote in my message to our citizens, which will come out in our manifesto once it hits the streets. And it basically says this, and I want to share it with our citizens, and I'll quote it directly. It goes like this: for this 7, the U.D.P. 7, failure is not, has never been, and will never be an option, regardless of how tough the going gets. The magnificent Dangriga sign monument the U.D.P. Town Council erected facing the sea at Alejo Beni Park is now an iconic reminder of how resilient this community has always been, and of how much faith the U.D.P. Council always has in the goodness that is at the core of Dangriga. End of quote.
All right.
That, in essence, sums up our philosophy, the motivation, the driving force and that has compelled all 7 of us to put our names on the ballot.
Well, we thank you for joining us.
So I say to the people, we seek your support on March the 3rd and reaffirm our dedication to improving the quality of life for all residents in this great municipality. And we thank you sincerely, all of you who have welcomed us on the campaign trail. Sereme.
Sereme. Well, thank you for joining us as well. We appreciate you taking the time to allow us to introduce to our viewers who you are and what you hope to deliver to Dangriga. Please stay safe on the campaign trail. And that's it for us.
Thank you so much, and thanks too.
And that's it for our Meet the Mayoral Candidate segment. And with that, we are going to be taking a short break. And when we come back, we're going to be shifting gears and we're going to be talking about World Anthropology Day. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break.